Want help to grow your business? Download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.
Hello and welcome to Outsource for Success. My name is Kristy Smith, and today we're going to be talking about how to maintain quality control in the virtual world. Now, this is a really big question that I get asked by business owners every day. How do I actually manage somebody that is working for me virtually? And there's a number of factors that will actually contribute to the success and the quality of the work that your team are doing for you. And I think it's not even just virtually, it's within your business as a whole. One of those key factors is your standard operating procedures, and you can call them whatever you want, there's different names for them, but essentially it's really about what have you got in place that defines and provides guidelines to your team around how you want something done. I find this really interesting because, you know, in the old days we used to say standard operating procedures and we get shivers down our spine thinking about all the hard work that we have to do to put together this, you know, bound manual that is just paper after paper that no one ever actually looks at in the long run anyway. And I know I worked in 5-star hospitals, so, you know, private hospitals where everything had to be documented and everything had to be there. But, you know, the reality of that was that it was done, you know, 1 year and then 5 years later it was reviewed. So you've got all of these operating procedures that no one's even looking at and half the time really adhering to. It's the day-to-day stuff that really determines the success of what you're doing. Now, standard operating procedures can come in different ways, and I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be your massive, you know, 1,000-page bound manual anymore. One of the really key tools that I've used recently, and I use this for all of our team, and I know a lot of business owners do as well, is using screen recording or screen capturing tools. This is really great, you know, using videos as a way of showing your team what you want them to do for you, even down to little revisions, down to showing them, you know, where something is on a certain website, all of those ways. If you can actually put that into a video for somebody to sit there in their own time and take in and watch, they can refer back to that video. You know, it's a great way of actually building your procedures so that someone's got that to refer to. I really love tools like Jing, J-I-N-G. I love tools like Snagit, ScreenFlow. They're all great screen capturing and screen recording tools, and it allows you to create that training video for your team. Now, standard operating procedures are not there just to be done once and then forget about. Yeah, try to use those standard operating procedures and, you know, from a quality control perspective, try to look at all the different ways that you've needed to adapt that procedure. So let's just say, for example, you found a new tool that can help you do something more efficiently. Go back to your, you know, tutorial and standard operating procedure on that task and edit it and actually add the new tool into there so that it's always current. So that you've always got procedures sitting there that they're mobile, they're fluid, that people are actually going to get the latest information. I don't know about you, but there's nothing worse than, you know, going in and being part of a membership group and having all these fabulous resources that somebody did 5 years ago that is all around social media, and it's changed so much. And yet their procedures or the way that they've done things haven't changed. You're not gaining anything from that, and it doesn't make you look good to the people who are accessing it. So have a think about how you can make those changes. So the next thing that you need to think about is expectations and KPIs. Setting those expectations early and actually giving the guidelines to the person that you're trying to bring on board is really key, even as much as putting that as early in the piece as the job description and letting them know what's going to be expected of them so that they can make the decision early on in the piece whether they're going to be able to achieve that, I think is really important. There's nothing worse than bringing somebody on board that, you know, didn't understand what your expectations were and doesn't feel like they can meet those. Have clear KPIs for your team to be guided by. Yeah, so really give them something that they can hold on to, that they know that they're going to be accountable to and responsible for. I think accountability and responsibility are really key to having the right people in place that in turn will actually provide the quality of work that you're after. And it's really important that not only do you set those expectations, but you're following up on those as well. So you're following up and you're measuring how they're going with those things. You're making sure that what you set for them is actually achievable and that you're actually reviewing that as you go. Don't assume. Always confirm the understanding. Always confirm that the person that you've given instructions to actually understands what you've asked them to do. So many times, we go through either an interview process or we get somebody to do a task for us, and we blame them because they haven't done it to the standards that we've set. Well, my question to you would be, number one, did you actually tell them what those standards were? Did you give them the expectations? And did you actually check with them first that they understood what you were asking them to do before you set them on to do it? I think that's really key. When it comes to quality control, it's, the quality control isn't necessarily about, waiting until it needs to be checked at the end. It's about setting up those little expectations to start with and then flowing through and monitoring as you go. One of the really key things that I think helps a business grow is the checks and measures. It's very easy to bring somebody on board to do a fantastic job in recruiting the right person and, even doing a great onboarding, job of the first 4 weeks, bringing them on board and making them feel great, but then walking away and letting them fend for themselves without checking in with them again. And I know that there's so many business owners out there that will be listening to this that will be guilty of that. I've been guilty of that in the past. But I think the key thing to remember here with checks and measures is putting some little things in place that will help both you and your virtual staff to understand where they're at a certain point in time. Now, milestones are particularly important when it comes to building projects. So when you're doing projects, you want to check at certain points that they're actually achieving the goals that you've set. But I think it's also important from the point of view of a specific role that somebody's taking on. If they're taking on a role and you want to check after 3 months how they're going, have they achieved what you hoped that they'd achieved? Had you set expectations and are they meeting their KPIs? So it's basically setting up those milestones, and it might be as simple as, at the 3-month point, we're going to check in and see that you've reached these KPIs. And then you have a little meeting to make sure that they've done that. Using systems also will help you track and monitor performance, and some of those systems that I certainly use in the business might be around project management tools, so using project management platforms to actually plug the project in or plug the tasks in, and setting milestones and due dates and things like that, so that there's a very clear direction and guideline for people to follow, and it's easy for you then to go in and actually track how they're doing. I can't stress enough the importance of regular weekly check-ins or meetings. Now, different people call them different things. Daily huddles are one thing that I've recently learned in the Rockefeller habits. It's really great that you can actually jump in, go into your daily meetings or your daily huddles and solve a problem before it becomes a problem. So actually getting onto things before they become a problem that you have to solve. So finding out what the challenges are and then being able to quickly fix those is a key tool. Weekly check-ins is also fine. I highly recommend that for any business owner, if you're hiring an outsourced or a virtual team member, that they feel lonely. Yeah, and if you're just letting them go to their own devices and work for you without checking in and just even having a simple, hey, how you going? Then, it's going to alienate them slightly. It's going to make them feel like they're not part of your team. So think about it from the perspective of what would you do if they were in the office? Would you walk past them, on a daily basis and hold a cup of coffee and say, hey, how was your weekend? What were you doing this week? What's going on for you this week? So actually, put that into some formal format where on a start of a Monday or a Friday, you're having your little huddle and you're getting together and you're discussing what's going on, and you're reconnecting with your team every time you do that. Staying on top of your performance. Now, don't let it slide. It's so easy to actually let somebody be doing something and then, 3 months later, be reprimanding them because they've been doing a bad job and it's actually affecting the business, and I'm sorry, but I don't have a job for you anymore. There's so many more steps that have to happen before it gets to that, and you're responsible as the business owner for making sure that they're succeeding at every point. And how can they succeed if you're not staying on top of their performance and making sure that they're doing the right thing? So it's taking responsibility, it's making sure that anything that you're delegating is not abdicating, that you're not actually just giving it away without the responsibility of making sure it's being done properly.
To continue enjoying this presentation, download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.